Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call to find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! And welcome into everybody listening in on all of our radio affiliates, our network affiliates, our independents from coast to coast, as well as all of our television affiliates in select markets, plus on hotel TV as well, and everybody also on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, make sure you check that out, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a very fun and interesting group to post your favorite recipes, your favorite foods, have a little bit of fun. There are members from all corners of the earth for all you flat earthers out there. Nonetheless, check it out, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. Have you ever been around somebody that says, well, you know, I think I know everything. I think I know everything about sports, and I just think I know everything, period, about everything. It drives everybody crazy, including yours truly. And what's interesting is these are the same people that are picking the odds for football games, basketball games, baseball, hockey games, whatever it is, anything you could bet on. These are the prognosticator wannabes, supposedly. You know, what they seem to forget is when it comes to picking those games, you have to follow the money. And I'll get to that in just a little bit, but I borrowed a little sound clip here from one of my friends, and I thought this was kind of fun, and maybe you would agree. Just listen to this for just a moment here. This is kind of fun. This is, of course, for ignorance and self-awareness for all you prognosticators and those people that think you knew what was going to happen in that election and whatnot. Check this out.
If you're very, very stupid, how can you possibly realize that you're very, very stupid? You'd have to be relatively intelligent to realize how stupid you are. There's a wonderful bit of research by a guy called David Dunning at Cornell, who's a friend of mine, I'm proud to say, who's pointed out that in order to know how good you are at something requires exactly the same skills as it does to be good at that thing in the first place, which means, this is terribly funny, that if you're absolutely no good at something at all, then you lack exactly the skills that you need to know that you're absolutely no good at it.
That's ridiculous. And, you know, we have to give him a round of applause. That's the great John Cleese, in case you don't know who he is. Just a funny statement, but it's a very true statement. And, you know, we think about all these people that, well, you know, I'm going to endorse this one, I'm going to endorse that one, whatever, this team's going to do this team's going to do that. So be it. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody's got their opinion. Even Steve Kerr decided to weigh in and sort of shoot himself in the foot. Of course, what did Steve Kerr say about the president-elect? And, of course, the Warriors coach takes a sarcastic dig at the president-elect as well. It's like, come on, man, focus on basketball. And Steve Kerr has been vocal. Listen, we all have opinions, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But Steve Kerr has been on the wrong side of these types of things on a regular basis rather than just coaching. Shut up and coach. This guy is sounding off on a stage that doesn't necessarily belong to him. It belongs to his employer. And this is where I have a problem, folks. When somebody is an employee of an organization, you do your job. That's it. You do your job. And you're not necessarily supposed to utilize that platform for your own personal gain or benefit. No, you're being paid to do a job. Shut up and do the damn job in the first place. But no, Steve Kerr has to pop off like a lot of other people. And again, I'm okay with people doing it on their own time and their own dime. But don't do it on the stage of the employer. And of course, this guy is like, well, you know, Kerr often speaks, this according to a very blue Yahoo. Kerr often speaks on important issues, even calling out the assassination attempt on President-elect Donald Trump just a few months ago. And of course, it was no surprise that when he addressed the election results, he had to open his mouth again. And he says, quote, "I believe in democracy. I think the American people have spoken and voted for Trump. I want him to do well the next 4 years, and I want our country to do well." And he goes on to say, "I'm just thankful that there wasn't any voting fraud this time. Last time, all those illegal immigrants who crashed the border, raped and murdered people, and then voted 6 times, and that was unfortunate. But thankfully, this time, everything was clean. It's great that every election has been really valid except for the last one 4 years ago. Twinkle in my eye as I say that in case you couldn't see it." Close quote. Again, Steve Kerr, seriously, just focus on coaching. You know, you were a decent player, but then again, you were on Michael Jordan's team, so you were an average player at best. And guess what? You were handed some really good pieces to a puzzle for coaching the Golden State Warriors, namely Steph Curry among Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, et cetera, et cetera. He's had loaded teams. I would love to see Steve Kerr, just like Phil Jackson, I would love to see Steve Kerr take a team from zero and try to do something with it. Phil Jackson stepped in to the Chicago Bulls as a coach with a ready-made team, and that team was built by the great Doug Collins. And of course, Doug Collins always gets a round of applause here because Doug Collins is the one that actually built the Chicago Bulls with Jerry Krause, the general manager, and the financial purse strings of Jerry Reinsdorf. And so somehow it's Mr. Collins gets ousted from his job after the Bulls can't get by the Detroit Pistons. And unfortunately, it was Phil Jackson that stepped in a very opportunistic position. Oh, he's the Zen guy, whatever. Listen, that was Michael Jordan was managing that team, period. And that was it. But anyway, so Phil Jackson, after he gets the 6 titles with Michael Jordan, well, he goes over to the Lakers. So what does he do? He gets a ready-made team with Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. Give me a damn break. So then what happens? Phil Jackson goes to where? The New York Knickerbockers. And his old team where he won a championship back in, I think it was 1972. Well, the reality is, Phil Jackson could not do anything with a team that wasn't already built. So I say the same thing for Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, let's see you go to a team that's already in the toilet that really doesn't have any pieces. I won't name any teams. I mean, those teams in the toilet, you know who you are. But my point is, when you have a guy using a stage that was basically ready built for him. Now, we've had the chief financial officer for the Golden State Warriors on this team. And let me tell you something, folks. It takes a lot to build a team, a winning team and a winning program. There is the business side of sports and, of course, the performance side. And, of course, the chief financial officer and I had a really good talk right here on the Sports Circus about the business side of the Golden State Warriors. You can go back and listen to that episode. And I will tell you, there's a lot more to it. So guys like Steve Kerr are merely the benefactors of all that hard work from ownership, the financial risk and reward. People say, well, you know, the owners, they make too much money. No, they don't. They're the ones that are putting the money up in the first place. And so you got guys like Steve Kerr taking advantage of this platform, which is wrong. Look, it doesn't matter what side you voted for. I mean, it's none of my concern. At the end of the day, hopefully, all of our citizens, not undocumented aliens, all of our citizens will benefit from the election results. It doesn't matter. Again, I'm not trying to get political. What I'm trying to do is explain why it's not right for coaches and players and personnel to utilize the platform of the ownership for their own personal gain, whether it's getting their personal message out there. We saw the same thing with Kaepernick. He used the platform of the San Francisco 49ers to state whatever he was trying to support. And, whatever, that's his business, and he could do that. But you do it on your own time and your own dime. And unfortunately, that particular situation caused an enormous divide within a lot of the fans and a lot of the supporters and a lot of the advertisers from the National Football League. Now, it's surprising to me that the NBA has not had some of the same backlash. Actually, it did for some of the things that they were doing on the court, or better yet, some of the things they didn't even show up for. But the point is, this is the ownership's money. It is not Steve Kerr's money. It doesn't matter who you support, but just don't make a mockery of it. And there's no reason to have these sorts of dialogue. I don't care who it was reported by, party A, party B, this media outlet, that media outlet. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, every one of you listening have the ability to voice your opinion, and that is your First Amendment right. But let's do it in a forum in which either A, we have entitlement to, real entitlement, and we are not essentially riding off the coattails of somebody else's purse strings, and let's do it for real on our own. And that's my soapbox about Steve Kerr. I just don't dig it. And in fact, all those other celebrities, we'll get to you guys in a minute, because you're doing the same thing, but you're hurting the profile of professional sports. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! And welcome in, everybody. Listening in on all of our radio affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD 1230 on the AM dial. That's the Atlanta Braves Radio Network. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Plus, welcome into everybody else on all of our independents, our network affiliates that we did not name, as well as everybody on our cable operators, cable television operators, that is, in select markets, plus Hotel TV. And everybody on Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you check that out, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. In the last segment, talking a little bit about Steve Kerr and his expressing his opinion, but on his employer's stage. This is the problem, right? So think about this. You have other people that are actually using their own stage at the same time. And that is what I actually do respect. But you have certain celebrities, of course, that have a little bit more influence over people, whether they're sports or entertainment or whatnot. But what is the effect? This is what I'm after. What is the effect of an endorsement of Party A or Party B or something like that? When sports or entertainment, we'll just say sports for the meantime, is supposed to be a release, and there's supposed to be a division away from politics. But why is it that people feel the need to express themselves in the wrong forum? Because a lot of times they don't realize the negative externalities. That's a big word, of course, for all you Raider fans out there, right? So, nonetheless, there are a lot of negative effects that just kind of happen. It turns out to be like collateral damage. And this is the problem when it comes to mixing sports with politics. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens that way. Now, we see it sometimes in the box office when it comes to films and whatnot. And so whether celebrity A or celebrity B has endorsed this person or that one or whatever, it doesn't really matter what I'm referring to, which party. But you think about the actors or the musicians or the sports people. So here, let's take some of these, for example. So actress Roseanne Barr is a Trump supporter and had posted or retweeted dozens of comments about the election and all this other crap, right? And so what is the effect on her career? Well, it seems that for all you that don't know, the entertainment industry largely is very left-leaning. And there's a bunch of reasons for it. We'll just kind of leave it like that. How does that affect her career? I think it affects it quite a bit because she is not conforming to what the other team wants. Now, Billie Eilish, who is of great fame when it comes to music, she vocally supported Vice President Harris and called the victory by the president-elect a war on women. Whatever, that's her opinion. And so she said at a concert in Nashville that she said someone who hates women so deeply is about to be president. That's what she said, but Nashville is the wrong venue for that. So let's think about this, folks. If you're in Los Angeles, or if you're in, let's just say this, let's say you're in Atlanta. Atlanta is a very blue city, like most cities across the United States. And so if you come out and support the other team, the red team, in a blue location, you're going to get some backlash. So Billie Eilish, in her particular situation, because this is a sports and entertainment show, well, what she did was she sounded off trying to make a difference in a red location, being a blue believer. And so it's almost like, look, for the sake of the concert, for the sake of the audience, and for the sake of not inciting violence, unfortunately, some people may or may not think ahead of their words. Now, Danica Patrick openly endorsed the president-elect. And so her NASCAR racing career, I wouldn't say it's over, but I would say that she's in my opinion, just on the downside of her career. And I don't think she really won anything, to be honest with you. So she was just kind of a good racer, but we never saw her in the winner's circle. So what is the validity of Danica Patrick's opinions? And is it going to affect her career? Probably not. Then you have actresses and so forth. And even the Mark Hamill from Star Wars, the Star Wars actor, I mean, obviously late in his career, he said, they say we get the leaders we deserve. Either that has just been disproved, or this is not the America we all thought we were living in. I don't even know where he's going with that, but it's not really going to affect his career much because he's sort of on the older side. What about Jake Paul? Jake Paul, the boxer guy, the fighter. He's a YouTuber, and of course with lots and lots and lots of followers. And he calls the results a, quote, massive step up in the right direction, close quote, whatever, America is saved, close quote. And so Hulk Hogan, same thing. He says he basically echoes the same sort of thing. So Jake Paul's in the middle of a busy career, but you got to remember the Jake Paul people are actually largely his fans, are supporters of the president-elect. Same thing with Hulk Hogan. And so you ask yourself, well, what about LeBron James, who called Harris the clear choice, et cetera, et cetera? Well, first of all, LeBron James has a very split audience, and I'm one of those guys. I just wish that these athletes and actors and musicians would just keep politics out of their sport, but they don't seem to do that. And James, again, is using a stage that doesn't necessarily belong to him, but then again, he also uses a stage that does belong to him. So here's sort of a dichotomy here. And you say, well, are people going to like him? Well, essentially, what LeBron James and what a lot of other athletes do, this is my point, folks. A lot of other athletes, they end up splitting an audience because of their interest in sounding off. And you ever notice Michael Jordan doesn't get into political discussions? Michael Jordan is very, very smart. He's a very good business guy. But he doesn't openly support X, Y, or Z. Because Michael Jordan, in my opinion, of course, Michael Jordan seems to support what the money wants in his own way. So he says, this is, of course, all my opinion. Mike says, I'm going to stay out of politics because I don't want to divide my customers, all those people that buy his products. Because if he takes position A or B, it would seem that he would alienate half of his audience. Now, each and every one of you listening to this can understand this, just like I can. I say, well, you know what? Because he doesn't say anything, then even for the people that, let's say they support Party B and let's say he supports Party A, whatever it is, but he doesn't openly do it, well, he's not dividing his revenue. So we go back to that chief financial officer discussion from the last segment from the Golden State Warriors that I had, and that's the business side of basketball. Well, Michael Jordan says this is the business side of money, and I'm not going to divulge what I am believing, so to say, because I don't want the money to get funny. And so I'm going to get my money from both sides of the fence. And I think this is where a lot of these athletes seem to be missing the boat. Now, LeBron James wants to be some big-time actor or whatever. He wants his kid to do the same thing. So be it. I don't really care. But what I do care about is when what I'm trying to do is watch something without any kind of political message or whatnot. And thank God we have no more of those in our basketball and football and in hockey and whatnot. So that's a really good thing. Now we don't have to watch those blasted campaign commercials, at least for a couple more years. But the idea is that it takes away from the fun that we're trying to have in the first place and the release what we're trying to get away from all this stuff. And so it would be nice if the athletes and the musicians and the movie stars and whatnot can just stay away from all this stuff. And then there's in-team fighting. Let's think about this with the Kansas City Chiefs. There was an issue, kind of almost like a silent war, in my opinion, with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes because of the wives, or with a girl anyway, from Taylor Swift openly supporting and Travis Kelce openly supporting Harris. And while Patrick Mahomes seemingly, I believe his wife had supported the other team. And so now you don't have this infighting, but I wonder what the effect is of the TV airtime now with these stars. So you think about the Kansas City Chiefs when they're on TV. Now are they going to show the girlfriend as much in the booth? See, now that's kind of an interesting thing, because why is it significant? Because you can bet on this in Vegas. That's right. You can bet on the amount of TV appearances or TV mentions by the announcers that Taylor Swift is going to have on air. There's an over and under and pick your favorite casino, right? And which, of course, leads us to our prognostication side. Of course, whatever. We're going to talk about the betting lines in the next couple of segments for the NFL and the NCAA football games. But all of this stuff has value to each and every one of us, believe it or not. So how many times are they going to show her? How many times are they going to say her name? Remember, they had that in the proposition betting for the Super Bowl. How many times? I want to say it was, they would show her on TV. I think it was, the over and under, I think it was something like 7.5 times in the previous Super Bowl. So all of this goes back to pick your favorite online betting venue, or if you're betting in person. That's how all this stuff comes full circle, folks. Believe me, it just took me a while to get there, but I actually got there. All right, so there's a round of applause for the circus. Believe me, this is something that just kind of happens, and we don't even realize it happens, but it does happen. So when we come back from break, we're going to go into the NCAA football and the National Football League with some odds. We're going to talk about these games coming up in just a few moments here on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. It is The Circus, and I prove it every day. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
To the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast. No, we don't do a podcast. We just happen to have our full recorded shows that have been uncut on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it. We're there. You can't get away from us, even YouTube. Also, make sure you check out the store page. You can go shopping on the sportscircus.com as well. There's all kinds of cool things on there for pick your favorite person in your life that you want to give a special gift to, of course. And those are a very lengthy list. And in fact, there's even a wonderful picture, picture library from the Sports Circus store. So across the top toolbar, I'm looking at it right now, there are hats, knitted hats, embroidered sweatshirts, fleece, jackets. There are sweatpants, shorts, polo shirts, gym bags, igloo coolers, messenger bags, embroidered tote bags, travel mugs, coffee mugs, pillows, notepads, notebooks, mouse pads, and more. Check it out at thesportscircus.com and click on store, and you can pick up all those wonderful Christmas gifts right there for your favorite loved one. All right. That's all good stuff. In college football, a shameless plug, by the way, for the Sports Circus. A lot of people are saying this whole transfer portal has leveled the playing field. I'm not so sure about that. Part of me says, yeah, maybe so in some ways. The transfer portal also, it seems to be ruining the idea of recruiting, and it's basically the highest bidder is getting these kids to play sports for their universities. Well, they really shouldn't even be called universities at this point, because these are business entities operating openly as business entities, and if they're paying their athletes, they're no longer amateur athletes. They are now paid professionals, so they should lose their amateur standing. So technically, these kids at 18 years of age, they could sign a contract legally. They could vote for their leaders. They can join the military. They should be able to play professional sports in the first place. And I think that's fair and reasonable. So that being the case, I'm not so sure that the transfer portal is really helping the situation, because at the end of the day, these kids are exercising their rights as Americans, and they should have the ability to do what they're doing in the first place without anybody dipping into their hands with these collectives and all this other crap. It's kind of like having a union step in the way. Well, we're going to make you more money because now you're a member of the union, when the unions are just driving up the labor cost in the first place. And all you union workers know what the hell I'm talking about. Everybody listening to this program that works for a union, you say, well, hey, we're making a little bit more money. Yeah, but you're paying more money in union dues. So every time they drive up the labor cost, well, they make more money. And so they say, well, you make more money. But then again, the groceries cost more at the grocery stores because everything's more expensive, right? Because it takes more money to produce those goods, or even when it comes to the service sector. Now, those services cost more money too. And this is the problem with the unions in the first place. So these collectives are acting essentially as unions for these players, which basically is driving up the cost, which drives up the cost for this pay-per-view, this program, this, you have this package, whatever. The problem is these costs keep going up from the TV contracts. The TV contracts get more expensive because why? The labor gets more expensive to produce the goods for those companies that are advertising in the first place that are paying in. So it's a vicious spiral, and it's spiraling out of control. And so you say, well, why is the betting world getting more and more difficult to make a buck? Well, because remember, they have more and more opportunities to bet on games. However, there's more money at stake. Again, it goes back through the TV contracts, through the casinos. And remember, in the NFL, as I remember, those NFL rosters have to be submitted, I think it's an hour and a half before game time, to the casinos. That's right. Same thing with Major League Baseball. They've got to be submitted to the casinos, the powers that be, prior to the game. So for the bettors and the betting audience. Now, that is a big crock of you-know-what. And so with that said, let's take a look at the betting odds for week number 11 for college football. I love college football. That always gets a nice round of applause from me. So starting out, yes, with the Thursday games. Now, you, in fact, may be hearing this a little bit late, depending on the audience and where you're located. So, and I cleared my throat on that one because I can't help that part of it because this is about content distribution. Again, it goes back to what? It goes back to contracts in the first place. So we're going to start out with Florida Atlantic is at the East Carolina Pirates. And the Pirates are a pretty good squad, but don't sell Florida Atlantic short. That line opened up at 8. It's down to 7.5. We're going to stick with the Florida Atlantic Club, the Owls, if I'm not mistaken, because they're over a touchdown, yet they are on the road, and East Carolina is not as good as they have been. App State is actually -1 at Coastal Carolina. This is a great matchup. This is one you just sit back, don't even pick the game. Just grab some popcorn, watch the game. The Chanticleers are hosting App State, and this is a fun matchup. If you like good college football, this is one of those ones. Don't even bet on it. Just watch it. How about Cal going across country all the way over to Wake Forest? Yes, it's a conference game in the ACC. Cal is a -7-point favorite, 7.5 if you're with one of those online bettings. And Wake Forest is not a bad home team, but the Cal Bears will find a way to cover the 7 points. The Rice Owls travel to Memphis, and Memphis is a 9-point favorite across the board, and Memphis should cover the 9. Iowa visits UCLA. They're going to the Rose Bowl. UCLA has not played very well against the Big Ten. However, this is one team they will beat at home. Take UCLA with the 6.5 points. New Mexico travels down to San Diego to play the Aztecs. New Mexico is getting 2.5 points from San Diego State. We're going to go with the Aztecs right there. That looks like an easy victory. Florida travels to Texas for a potential drudging. Looks like it's going to be Texas all over Florida. West Virginia travels to Cincinnati in a very interesting game, and the line on this one is 4.5 to 5. It looks like consensus is 5. Usually when the team is favored by 5, they tend to cover, so we're going to take Cincinnati minus. Actually, we're going to bet this one at MGM because it's actually -4.5 over there. So we're going to take Cincinnati -4.5. You can still get them there. Find them online. Miami, a very good Miami squad, plays a much improved Georgia Tech squad over in Atlanta. This one is Miami. We're going to look for Miami to continue to stay undefeated. The Naval Academy travels down to South Florida. They are a 3-point favorite. It looks like the Naval Academy is going to bounce back from that game against Notre Dame. Syracuse travels to Boston to play BC. BC is a 2-point favorite, and they'll probably cover the 2. Purdue, unfortunately, my Boilermakers have seen better days. They are getting 38 points, 37.5 at MGM, 38.5 at Bally's. And you know what? I think we're going to lay the points and take Ohio State. Texas State travels to University of Louisiana Monroe, and Texas State at a touchdown favorite, lay the 7. Minnesota travels to Rutgers, two teams that you scratch your head about and you say, well, who the hell's going to show up? We're going to take Rutgers in this one. Liberty, and we're going to take the 6.5, by the way. Liberty travels to Middle Tennessee. Liberty should have no trouble with them. UConn, with their game against UAB, it should be UConn. Believe it or not, it should be UConn, but we're going to take the Dragons of University of Alabama, Birmingham, and the 6.5 points. Marshall travels to Southern Miss. The Thundering Herd should get themselves an easy win over the Golden Eagles. Iowa State, and a very, very good Iowa State team, travels over to Lawrence, Kansas to play the Jayhawks. This should be Iowa State. Duke going to rebound against NC State right across town. They're going to play over in Raleigh. They're going to get 3 points. We're going to take Duke plus the 3, even though that game is off the board in a couple of venues. Georgia State and James Madison. We're going to take the Dukes in this one. Georgia travels over to Oxford Miss. And Georgia should get the win here, but we like Ole Miss with the 3 points because it's whoever has the ball last going to win this game. Army travels to the Mean Green to play North Texas. Army's going to stay undefeated with that win. San Jose State to Oregon State. Oregon State easy. That's probably the easiest pick on the board. Michigan travels to Indiana, and Indiana will dismantle Michigan. Clemson travels to Vatech. Take Clemson minus a handful of points there. Colorado in prime time will lose over in Lubbock, Texas. Take the Red Raiders. Temple travels to Tulane. Tulane all over Temple. Kennesaw State going to have a rough day down at UTEP. South Carolina will find a way to beat Vanderbilt over in Nashville. Jacksonville State and Louisiana Tech. Jacksonville State all day and twice on Sunday. Arkansas State, it's going to be a rough day against the Raging Cajuns. Take them. Western Kentucky all over New Mexico State. An easy win there. Central Florida travels to Arizona State. Look for Arizona State to win big. Oak State travels to TCU. Oak State with 11.5 is an easy pick there. Oregon all day over Maryland. Miss State is going to have a really rough day at Rocky Top. Florida State, well, worse days are ahead for you because you're playing Notre Dame. Take Notre Dame in that one. Alabama at LSU, winner there. Oklahoma will lose to Missouri. Virginia and Pittsburgh. That's going to be Pittsburgh. Nevada at Boise State is GT all day. Penn State and Hawaii.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests and our prior guests. And those upcoming guests include, this is good stuff, the great Wayne Newton. Yes, the great Wayne Newton, Mr. Las Vegas, legendary music and television icon. He will be appearing on the Sports Circus. And coming up very soon will be tennis star, Italian tennis star, Matteo Berrettini, 10-time singles, 2-time doubles, ATP tennis champion, also a Boss brand ambassador. He's going to be in studio with yours truly, and we're also going to have a couple other surprises coming up, and we may have one of the Formula One drivers that's going to be in the Formula One race right here in fabulous Las Vegas. Yes! That's pretty exciting stuff. And also other special music guests, of course, along with our standard top-end athletes and Heisman Trophy winners and world champions and all-stars. In fact, we're going to have Andre Ware with us, who is a Grey Cup champion, Heisman Trophy winner in the College Football Hall of Fame, and he is a television analyst for ESPN. So we're going to have Andre Ware with us as well, plus some others. Folks, make sure you check out that website, thesportscircus.com, on the featured guest schedule. It's on the homepage, and have a good look, because if you haven't noticed, in the 2,000-plus shows that we have done, we've had some enormous names. Grammy winners, Academy Award winners, world champions, Hall of Famers, left, right, and center. We've had all kinds of superstars on the show. You know, the show started, back in 2016. And of course, prior to that, I was invited to be a member of a regular show on ESPN, and I was on there for over a year and a half, whatever the heck it was. And I said over time, like, you know what, guys, I think I want to try to find a way to make a little bit of money with this. And they said, well, you're not going to make money. And that was good old Rich. I like Rich. Rich was a nice guy. Anyway, that was Rich. It was Rich, John, and Bob from The Franchise. It was a show that I was on for a year and a half. Post-game Angels, post-game Ducks in sunny Southern California. And it just happened that they said, you know, you're not going to make money with us, but you can go ahead and start your own gig and try to do it yourself. So I went ahead and started my own show right here in Las Vegas on Fox 1340. In fact, that's the same station that carried, it's the same studio, same producer, same everything, where Colin Cowherd started, as I understand. Colin was there, a handful of years before me. And what was interesting, that's also the same place. There was a guy by the name of John Tornauer, a very good radio host. We'll give both of those guys a round of applause. John Tornauer is known as JT the Brick. He does a very fast, rapid-fire show, and it's good. It's good. And what's interesting is they tried to, being the producer and the board operator, they tried to get me to follow John's type of format for rapid fire, take a minute and 10 seconds for this topic and then wrap it up in another 20 seconds. So every minute and a half, almost like Pardon the Interruption, another really good show that's found on ESPN. It's one of my favorite TV shows when it comes to sports and whatnot. But what I found is that they tried to turn me into a blueprint of what was successful. And I get that, because they say if you want to be this way, follow this way, and you may end up with the same result. Now, there is some truth to that, but the truth is to it when it comes to structure. From a business owner standpoint, for all you entrepreneurs out there or would-be entrepreneurs out there, I will tell you that if you want to win, you surround yourself with winners. Don't surround yourself with people that procrastinate, because they have an excuse for everything. And so the same thing goes when it comes to creating your own content. If you want to be a show host, you think you have better skills than everybody else out there, including me. I don't really care. Look, I've done enough of these where I don't have an ego issue. When I started, I was worried about dead air and all this other crap. Well, what it comes down to is content. And it's got to be good content. And if you listen and watch everybody else, you could do that from a structural standpoint. But what you can't do, well, I can't say you can't, but what you may not want to do is you may not want to duplicate everybody else's content. Because once you start listening to everybody else, you start sounding like everybody else. And that is a problem. If you want to learn a little bit more, maybe you want to produce your own show. You want to host your own show. You think you could do better than everybody else or compete, which, hey, I'd say great. Just like we have not the need for one gas station on a corner, maybe sometimes there's 4 different gas stations. There's always room for more because the cream will rise to the top, especially when it comes to disseminating information, but more importantly, breaking down content. And what I do in my program is I develop the content and I give, this is the content, what the belief is, or this is what the statement is, but then I'll put my spin on it. But I have a very deep business and legal background. So I can do this from different angles, from a sports executive standpoint, from a on the field perspective, in the dugout perspective, not just somebody in the booth watching. And so it's a very weird but interesting show, that being the Sports Circus. That's why we've had so many people involved with the show, so many people on the show, and they come back, and these people are either friends or friends of friends that come out of the show over and over. And that's why we surround ourselves with those types of people in the first place, because why? Winners win. That said, I have to continue on quickly with the college football because I did leave some of these off. We've got UNLV traveling over to Honolulu, but they're laying 2 touchdowns, and Hawaii may cover the 2 touchdowns. You may want to pick up with those guys. Fresno State is traveling to Colorado to play Air Force, and I think Air Force might compete in this one enough to cover the 11 points. So we're going to take the 11. Utah is hosting a very good BYU team, but that is a very close rivalry. That could be a field goal game. That's why the line is 3.5. We're going to take Utah at home plus 3.5 to win by the hook. Utah State travels to Washington State. Washington State should absolutely destroy Utah State. Bowling Green travels to Central Michigan. Should be an easy trip over for Bowling Green. Miami of Ohio, same thing, same result against Ball State over at Ball State. Northern Illinois travels to Western Michigan. This should be a very good game. Northern Illinois should get the win. They should win by 0.5 point. MGM's got them at minus 2.5. We're going to go ahead and lay the 2.5 and take Northern Illinois. The Bobcats of Ohio travel to Kent State in an interstate clash, but this should be the Bobcats all over. And Army and UMass are actually off the board for that one upcoming. So that is what it looks like in college football. Over in pro football, there's a lot of things going on. We had a trade deadline that happened in pro football, and some teams made moves, and other teams they didn't really make that big of moves, but there was a little bit of help picked up by this team and by that team. But at the end of the day, Bryce Young stayed with the Panthers, and that's one of the ones that people were watching. The Chicago Bears dealt off Khalil Herbert to the Cincinnati Bengals, so they boost up their running game. And as a matter of fact, we're going to start off with that Bengals and Ravens game here. And it looks like the Ravens beat the Bengals in Cincinnati in overtime. And so turnabout is fair play. And it looks like from again, you may get this game after the game's already off. You may get this show. Just depends on distribution in different markets. But this is being done right now. We're airing this at we'll just say at noon Pacific time on the 7th of November. So you know when I'm actually recording this, because I have to do it this way. In some markets it's live, some it's not. But just so you know, we're taking the Bengals straight up, even though, and we'll take the 6.5. The line jumped from 3 to 6.5. And so that almost screams bet Baltimore. But at the end of the day, we're going to take Cincinnati on the money line to win that game straight up, because turnabout is fair play. Cincinnati is playing very good ball right now. Baltimore has bolstered their team as well, but we're going to take the Bengals in an upset here. And, of course, going to our other games, it's the Giants at the Panthers, and the Panthers are much improved. Look, they're playing the kid, but they're also playing Andy Dalton. And so the Panthers aren't that bad. The Panthers may cover that line. Moving on to Buffalo. Buffalo is playing at the Colts. And the Colts did not deal Anthony Richardson. They're sticking with the kid, which I think is actually a pretty good move for the Colts. Showing a little faith, just like the Panthers. But this one is the Buffalo Bills, and I don't see how the Bills don't cover this one. The Minnesota Vikings and the Jaguars. The Jaguars have a questionable Trevor Lawrence. Not sure if Trevor is going to play. Minnesota is a pretty good squad, and they're a solid 7 across the board. That line jumped from 2 to 7. The Jags opened up at -2, but now they're +7. I think largely it's because they're suspecting that Trevor Lawrence won't play. We're going to lay the 7 and take the Vikings there. Pittsburgh could turn the Washington Commanders crowd into a bunch of terrible towels. And even though Washington is a 3-point favorite in this game, I think we're going to stick with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They find ways to win games. I don't know what it is, but just when you think the Steelers aren't very good, they're good enough to win games. The Saints, who are reeling, has lost 7 in a row. Well, it doesn't look to get any better because they just dealt off Lattimore over to, I believe it was the Washington Commanders, and that's why the line jumped for the Commanders. But anyway, the Saints have gone from bad to worse. Now they're hosting the Atlanta Falcons. In Atlanta should be able to win that game and stay atop that NFC South. The Broncos travel to the Chiefs, and the line has dropped from 9 to 7.5 in that game. And the Chiefs, they'll win games, but they don't seem to cover. Denver has a pretty good defense. I'll take it depends on where you're betting it. Bally's, you get it at +8. I'll take the 8 points and the Denver Broncos. The 49ers travel down to Tampa to play in the pirate ship. And the 49ers, we don't know if Deebo Samuel's going to play. We don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to play. But they are getting 6, being the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers are a pretty good home squad. They're actually getting 6.5 by one of those online betting venues. Let's think about the Buccaneers +6.5. The Bears hosting the Patriots. This should be a drudging of the Patriots. The Bears should win big in this one. And even though they're laying 6, they ought to win by double digits. The Chargers hosting the Titans. This one should be the Chargers all day and 3 times on Sunday. The Eagles travel to the Cowboys. Cowboys are a really bad team right now. Pick up the Eagles in that one. The Cardinals, a pretty good Cardinal squad playing Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I think the Jets will probably cover and win on the road. The Lions are playing a very good Texans squad. I think the Lions are going to fall in this game. Take the Texans +3.5. And, of course, then you've got the Dolphins and the Rams. The Dolphins are better, of course, because they have Tua back, but yet the Rams are playing pretty good football, too. I'm going to take the Dolphins +1.5 in that game. And that's going to do it for the circus today, folks. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.